And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another recap review of the final season of Snowfall. It's your guy Lucas here with my guy Najir. Did I say it right that time? Yes, I did, because I didn't correctly say your name. So, Najir, what's going on, man?
This is your show that you're allowed to mess up all of the names. They love it, so go for it. But I'm doing
Hey, look,
fine.
look, look, look. I want to thank FX ahead of time here. We had an episode with none of the hard names in here. Like, oh, I was a little concerned. I was a little concerned because some of the names are like, oh man, what's the one to begin with an X? And then I'm
Oh
like
my
the
god!
P with the two S's. I'm saying, oh man, none of them are in this episode,
I
which
let
is a
you.
good thing for me. But I mean, even a better thing for the audience, as the name of this episode, episode 3, is Door of No Return. And we open up this episode with Wanda, Leon, Sincere, and everybody who went to Africa to get away from the world as we get to experience this more peaceful Leon in Ghana here earlier on in this first opening shot. What did you think about just the way they framed this shot? Because that's what the most interesting part for me was. It was the way it was framed, the way they set it up to make it seem like this was heaven on earth for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. So first off, folks, my name is Najir, just in case y'all want to make sure y'all say it right.
This
And he
was
knows it, but he's
nature.
okay. But there's a couple of things here. First of all, I'll be completely honest. The first part of this episode was a little bit emotional to watch because there's a couple of things. There's the misconception of Africa, and much like and like I'm gonna be a little bit loose with my language here, but like most niggas, they think Africa is just deprived, and you go there and it's just
Yes.
gonna just be all these
Destitute.
misconceptions.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, and the way they shot this is to completely make you all realize like it is our home, and
Mhm.
it is paradise. Everyone's happy. The vibe, the energy. You don't need to have you know you don't need to be Dubai, shall I say, in order to be a thriving community
Yeah.
here. And with so much pain within our culture in our history, and we hear about it, seeing that people were able to let that go and to
Yeah.
still come together as a community is a completely powerful thing that they was able to depict as well as narrate in the beginning of this. So I love how this was shot, and to speak a little bit about the cinematography here, and not like trust me, I'm not trying to do compare fiction
Our
and
critic thing.
nonfiction here. No. Yeah, well, I gotta do that too. But like I'm not trying to compare fiction and nonfiction here. But
Hmm.
like when you say Africa, people's minds go to Wakanda. Just gonna just leave it at that. And I'm just gonna
Really?
say um,
Oh,
we'll just leave it at that. But like when you see how Wakanda's portrayed, you'd say, oh, they're doing good because they got technology and all these sorts of
mhm.
different things and whatnot. And that's fine. It's fiction, folks. But understand that this real life of Africa, minus the technology, you are looking at a community that comes together. Everyone has a particular role and part for them to succeed, and that's
Yeah.
what we got. And I think it speaks numbers about our culture. It speaks wonderful numbers and wonders about our culture. And for Leon to go over there, first of all, let me be ignorant as hell right here. You can take a nigga out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the nigga because my man was Dickies and chucked
And a
out
dash.
and a dashiki.
And
And
a
I was
dash. Yeah.
and like I loved how Wanda completely embraced the culture, like glowed
Hmm.
the fuck up. I mean, let's talk about just the story arc of Wanda here, but but Leon there and they went on a trip to get away, but this was like a bit of soul searching and spiritual guidance, and they got way more than they ever could imagine. So like honestly, the beginning of this episode was beyond anything Snowfall has ever done. If I look back and I think correctly, I
Yeah.
think this literally probably the most strongest of a beginning of an episode to tell a story
Mhm.
without the drugs, the violence, and all that other stuff. It spoke about the culture, and I know I can't wait to hear your thoughts about this, because when we talk about what Franklin wants to do for the
Mhm.
community and what he, as we see at the end, everything he's been fighting for, this is it, this development and whatnot. But as you said, and as every title screen we get for Snowfall, each and every episode, you see that like they use these sort of symbolic ways of saying, oh, you're putting things into the community because you think you're doing good, but you're actually destroying it. And
Mhm.
understanding that like the comparisons here that Leon was able to correlate with, well, was I actually doing good? Actually not.
Mm.
So it's a lot to unpack. I literally could probably talk another 5 minutes, but just to get back to you, I really did enjoy the beginning of this episode.
Now, what do you think about the pivotal part of this opening, which I like the most, is the pan up when Leon is at his peaceful pace with Wanda, and he pans up to the big billboard of
JJ
Jerry
Rollins.
Rollins,
Yeah.
who that's literally how I knew they were in Ghana. Because they never tell you at first. The moment I saw him, I said,
They
"Oh,
they did have a
this
they had
this is Ghana."
they had a caption, a screen caption that said they were in Ghana in the
Yeah, I
beginning.
didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
I literally didn't catch it until I
Mm-hmm.
saw his billboard there.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way that billboard hits Leon is the most pivotal part of this episode, because
Yeah.
it sets up everything else that happens from that point forward. And it is basically, hey, you can't leave your past behind and leave things unsettled, because until they are settled, it can never be left behind. And it's something that weighed on Leon completely. I love the way that was set up. And as you said before, a lot of people do have misconceptions of when they hear people say they're going to Africa, even though at this point, I don't know how you can still have that misconception.
And
In
it
the
and it
80s, I fully understand it, but now I don't see how you can have that misconception at all.
yeah, and it's odd
Un-
because it is still a lot of folks.
yeah,
Still a
unless
lot
you
of folks.
just willfully ignorant to what it
And
is, and that's either the
I mean, but that
Africa that they portray here, South Africa, any part of, I don't see how you can think that they still everything isn't destitute,
that's
or you
Dion is the
equate.
depiction of that ignorance. He's
Yeah,
just like, oh, you went to Africa. Power to the people. Like, okay, bro. Chill out.
or you you equate technology and big houses to people living happy and being wealthy in love and everything else that comes along with it. I mean, when I went to South Africa, man, it was the best parts of it was when we went to the villages.
Yeah.
Like, you could just live there. I met people there that I'm still friends with. This was a trip I took 13 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not like getting somewhere, meeting people on the first night, and then being comfortable enough to have them drive you everywhere, take you to their home, things of this nature. Like that is almost the way they showed the embrace that Leon and Wanda got when they got there,
Yeah.
because they felt so at home here, which leads to the moment when Wanda tells
Well,
Leon, "I don't want to leave." Like
yeah.
it's all in that same correlation, because that's the next big thing after they pan up to show you the big shot. Is her basically telling him, "I don't want to go anywhere. Like, can't we
Yeah.
stay here?" But
Mm-hmm.
then as Leon telling her, like, technically it's unfinished things I have to handle back at home. What'd you think about, I know we talked about the first opening shot. What'd you think about this first
Yeah.
whole opening portion of Africa between Wanda and Leon, and the growth that we see from these two characters from where we left them at the end of season 5?
Yeah, I guess it's hard to tell how long they've been gone, but
A month.
a
They said a
month.
month.
Okay, then
Mhm.
okay, cool. So one, just for the record, I want to state the quote here that was on the wall on the mural. It says the errors of the past must be corrected in order to reestablish the confidence of our people in a secure future. And for whatever reason, Leon took that and thought that, yeah, there's unfinished business at home, but that also was equated to him saying that he felt that he was running away from his problems, and I just don't know how his mind led to that.
I think it was the second correlation when they went to the slave port. And that
Maybe.
conversation is what led him to think, I'm running away from things. Like it's when he got the analogy that he put people in chains. And
Yeah,
I just
that's
left that whole analogy alone. But
yeah.
if that's the way
I
you felt
actually,
from it, like I
I
thought that's what
really
it came
want,
to.
I really want to hear your thoughts about that. But to your question though, they come and they're automatically accepted within the community. They're there for a month. And they are one with them. People are happy to see
Yeah.
them. They're calling each other brother and sister. You know, Wanda is out on her own, and it's an okay thing. And I think the
Yeah.
instinctual thing of like, well, typically if Wanda's out on her own, he has to go find her because who knows what can happen to her, and that's you
Yeah.
know. So he's still dealing with, should we say, the almost like the grooming, but
PTSD.
the PTSD of being back in the hood, which
Mhm.
I understand that. But Wanda's saying there's nothing back there for me. She doesn't want to go back. Everything is perfect here. And they feel free. He said he need time to think about it. He says he love her and whatnot. It just was just really difficult to understand exactly why he felt so like he felt so content what happened to go fix things. I just didn't get it. And I think there was enough reassurance from everything that he experienced at this point that they could make a home here. They could actually thrive here and it will be okay. I am beyond curious to know what's going to happen next episode because, you know, whatever
some cards were laid out that he's gonna have
yeah,
to deal with. Yeah. We'll
yeah, and
talk about that a little bit later. Yeah,
it's
definitely.
kind of like eerie to think like what's to come for the rest of the season, but I don't know, man. Before we get to where they get to the castle, I was just like, Leon, bro, like you got the coconut. It's really good. My man is being, learning it because when you're black, it's funny to even say this, like, right? But like, he's being cultured by his own culture. He's just like, never knew these wonderful things existed. Coconut, sir, but okay.
I mean,
And,
how many?
and
I think if you think about it, how many people from? I'm gonna let you finish your thought, then I'm gonna go ahead because my
nah,
thought's gonna ramble a little bit.
I give it to you, but I just think that it was a little bit challenging at this point to just wonder why Leon just felt so compelled to have to go back. And I was just like, bro,
See, I think that's where we can tell we differ just a little bit. Not only did I understand why he wanted to go back, I've had those exact same feelings before. We talk about survivor's remorse, but people don't actually go into exactly what that means. It's allowing yourself to be happy when you know it's things or actions that you've caused that you shouldn't be happy about.
It's
That
true
you
to his
still feel
character.
like you have that you still feel you have to fix. So when he's going through this, when he's having this conversation, that's the first thing that popped in my head is, oh, he'll never be happy. Because in the end, he still believes he's too big of a part of the dirt that he left behind.
Yeah.
And I can't live this perfect, beautiful, wonderful life. That's why I love the way it was shot, because it made it look like he was in heaven. He was in paradise. You can't live in paradise if you left home in shambles.
Yeah.
Because then that guilt does come over you, because it's, hey, I wonder what's happening to this person. If this person dies, it's on me. If that person dies, it's on me. You put everything on yourself because you escaped that problem. You escaped that situation. It's something that people from the hood, people who grew up in those environments, like I was about to say with the coconut tree, when you say how are we being cultured by our own culture, how many people from the inner city even know you can drink out of a coconut?
Yeah.
It ain't many of them.
Right. The one thing I guess I'm really stuck on is why, like, this is why, women, or whatever your sexual preference is, but your partner sometimes becomes your better half, because I think Wanda provides the reassurance of that they will be okay. She's happy and she's been through hell and back. And while Leon may not be able to see it, Wanda being there for him, I think should have just been enough for him to. And as he said, he'll think about it, but his mind was made up.
He never thought about it. Yeah.
He never thought about it. And the moment he got to talk to the other guy, he was like, gotta go back. And like, I'm like, you literally just had the happiest day of your life here. Like, what are you doing? You're self-sabotaging. But it is true to Leon's character that he has a extremely hard time letting things go. Definitely survivor's remorse galore here. Okay, it's always been his thing, and I know folks going to be in the comments definitely speaking to that, because there's a lot of examples throughout these seasons of that with him. But
yeah, I mean,
oh, oh, last thing I was gonna say before I forget, while this was a vacation, it wasn't, because
no.
a vacation is something that you do go temporarily to come back, and I know that can be at any bit of duration or length that you wanted to. But because they were accepted into the community, they were home. And I think that's also a stigma that I think this episode was trying to convey, is that when we go to Africa, I'm not going to say everywhere because everywhere is not nice, but when you do go to Africa,
yeah, some parts are not nice at all.
It is a community. It is a community there. And I know a lot of folks will always go to these other countries, South America, Latin America, and they're like, oh, the people were so nice. Jamaica, people were so nice. Yeah, I agree. But also, I think this is also letting folks know, like, yes, also Africa's nice too. You can go there. I don't know whatever bit of, it's a lot of people who don't even know our history that acts like they are dealing with firsthand trauma from being in the history of things. Like, it's the weirdest thing. You would literally think that this folks was like, yeah, man, last time I was there, it happened. Like, bro.
It's because as Black folks, we put off on our own people things that other races put off on us. You ever have a white person who have an experience with one Black person and they judge every Black person by that? Black people do the same thing with Africans. Yes. All it takes is one bad encounter with one African, and all of a sudden, an entire continent is that way to you.
Yeah, like, granted, I got scammed by a Nigerian before, and I definitely was holding on to that for like a couple of years. Like, ignorance, I know, but like, yeah, I hear you, sir.
Exactly, and that's what they held on. But for here with Leon again, I think when we get to the slave castle, because that's the next point of contention for him, and he makes an analogy. I don't necessarily agree with the analogy, but I'm going to ask you, what do you think about the story that was told there? So just the writing here, the way this is set up, the way they pick these shots while this man is narrating everything that happened. And this is knowledge, especially back in this time period, back in the 80s, a lot of Black people didn't know. Like, matter of fact, it's still Black people who thought majority or slavery started because white people came and took you. So I love the way they just showed Leon's eyes being open to the point that no, like, you were sold into slavery by other Black people, and just how that fully affected him. What did you think about this whole portion of it and any other portions of this? Because then we can move forward from their trip and their wedding and everything else.
Yeah, I always said I wanted to go to Ghana and visit Osu Castle, and just because you think of like places to go. But I first of all, how this was shot and everything was it was an experience. It was very emotional. Like I said, I definitely choked up a little bit, because when you hear the history, it's never it just never, it's always surreal. And like, I knew this, so this wasn't a surprise to me. And I think when that first time I did hear how we were selling our brothers, I just was just like, I don't know. I don't even remember my emotions. Where I definitely know it was a moment of a big moment of just silence and just deep thought. Just like, dang. And like, I loved the performances here by the both of them. Really cool. And I could imagine that these were genuine feelings. I mean, if I was acting, if I had any bit of acting skills, I think I would have just let it go too, for the sake of the performance, right? Yeah. But I think it conveyed the severity, the nature, the horrendous nature and history of our people. So this shot was magical, with the narration, the up close and personal, intimate shot with the guy that was talking about it. Then you're layering it with them visualizing what they're thinking and hearing and seeing, and then you're adding that extra sound bite with the people, our people screaming from all the different things. It starts to create your own visuals in your head.
Yeah.
To see Leon pivot because it's starting to become hard for him to see
Yep.
Wanda come and realize that, and then she completely breaks down. It was this was nuts, man. This was crazy. And then, like you say, just to kind of go forward with everything, Wanda then correlating how this makes she wants to be free from America. And I was like, oh, well, that is a statement there. And he talked about, the quote, which I'm gonna throw it to you. It says it's easier to sometimes it feels like it's easier to escape slavery than crack. And I was like, oh, I cannot wait to see how he's gonna wing this one. But I will say it wasn't bad. I'm not saying I agree, but it wasn't bad. And he said, well, I feel like if you gave a slave freedom, they wouldn't look back. Facts. They're gone. But if you gave a crackhead freedom from crack, I guess that's what it is here, they would always look back. And I said, so here's what I said. I said, okay, cool. So you just dished your girl. All right,
Thank
and I'm
you.
done.
That's all I was thinking is you're literally standing with someone who was set free of crack. And you basically told her you'll always be looking for crack. I already know it.
He
Like,
better Elise
it's a
and
weird correlation.
Elise and Wanda gonna smack his head off. He keep playing with them. You don't be trying to take their African experience from them.
But not only that, even the correlation of if you give a slave freedom, they'll leave and they'll never look back. We know through our history that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, because people went back for their people. The ones that did have the opportunity of freedom.
The hardest part of slavery is being broken mentally. When the physical part was one portion of it. The mental break is the other part of it. Now, that's the correlation I thought he would draw to it, because that's actually the correlation to crack. It's the mental aspects of it. The physical stuff, you can get over it in a couple of days to get through your system. The problem is mentally, it does not move that way. Same thing with, I thought that would be the correlation that he would go with there. I kind of understood the point he was trying to make, but I'm never going to say that's bad writing. That's on par for Leon. Whoever wrote that, which I think is Walter Mosley who wrote this episode, like, it makes perfectly good sense that that would be something Leon would say, because all of this is new to him. Everything he's experiencing is new here. And then the next new thing happens is they perform an African ceremony for marriage between him and Wanda before having to return back home.
Yeah. Well, and quickly, I ain't gonna spend time on it, but quickly, when he lets dude know that he needs to go back, he says, listen, you will be in danger, throws another layer of history on things. And then, didn't heed no warning, and goddamn, before even a blink of a scene, they're back. And I was just like, God, he didn't even contemplate that, but okay.
Hey, at that point, he had already made up his mind. He had told everybody. He had already made up his mind that was going to be his next step, no matter what. Now, the next big thing that happened is it when they land and then we get all hell has broken loose? Or is it Veronique and Franklin? No.
They're back. They're back in the
when
project.
All hell has broken loose.
Yeah,
and
with
smart
Einstein.
Guy,
Einstein.
He's going through informing them everything that's happened since they've been gone. And here is where we pick up from the end of episode 2, because we were kind of wondering. And I remember someone in particular saying, oh man, they family, they don't really want to kill each other. We go through an entire montage of them attempting their best to kill each other here. As we realize here that Louis, Jerome, and Franklin are at war. Kane and Dee are at war. Kane and Louis and Jerome are at war. Dee and Franklin are at war. In other words, all aspects of the hood are trying to kill each other.
Yeah, except for Franklin and Kane. This? Franklin and Kane, I think, are
okay. No. That's what I said. Franklin and Kane's on one side is D. Jerome and Louis on the other side, which also and something else I brought up last episode, that Franklin would clearly know that D set up Black Dallas.
Yeah.
Black Diamond, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like that was clear to Franklin, and that's why that war started. What do you think just about this as we leave peace to get directly back in hell and giving us this montage of showing us, hey, instead of, as I always say with shows, instead of dragging it out, we're seeing up front, It's a huge war going on here.
They did a good job of summing this up. I think I would have liked a little more of it though, but maybe was a good idea to reset the toning for the episode because
Yeah.
With heavy hearts and all the other stuff, emotions from the beginning, this definitely was like the jaw dropping moment because like especially for me and everything you're holding me accountable for what I said last week, this was definitely like a well, oh shit, like it went down, and Einstein is letting them know, like, hey, man, listen, it was a bloodbath here. I mean, but at the same time, everyone is confused. Oh, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are confused as to why. But I will say this because I'm going to defend myself. Franklin has only tried to pull the trigger personally on one person, and he doesn't even know why he's going at Franklin. He's so confused because when Leon asked him, he was just like, I don't know. But
nah, I think D is playing coy. He knows exactly why Franklin is going after him.
Oh, right, because he knows. Yeah.
He's playing like, oh, I don't know, why would he want to kill me?
And he is trying to keep cold because he snitched. He let him know where the facts. Yeah, this show good, man. But here's really what I will say. Along with resetting the tone, if you think about it though, all the visuals that we saw, the shooting, the killings, and all that other stuff is all the visuals that was sort of depicted by what was happening in the scene while they were at the castle, about our people being murdered and slaughtered, bloodbath, people screaming and stuff like that. It's just showing you just how far along we've come as a community. And while we were selling each other as slaves, we're murdering each other and killing within our own community. And there isn't a sense of forgiveness here while we forgave yourself for there. It's a crazy thing here. So I don't know, man. This episode was trying to have people like just get up and take a walk or something afterwards, I guess. I don't know, man. It's hard.
And not only that, if I'm not mistaken, and if I am, just correct me. Leon and Wanda left for Africa at the end of season 5, right before everything happened with Franklin robbing them and him losing his money. That all happened in a day when he lost all that money. They've been gone for a month now. The month correlates the time jump of when the war really kicked off. So what they did was say, hey, if we drop you and tell you they've been in Africa for a month, that means everything back home has happened within that month. That's when the war really started. So I love the way they played that timeline to let you know, like, hey, they've been gone to Africa for a month, but the month didn't start at the beginning of episode 1 of this season. Technically, they had just left at that with that episode. We're now a month later and a month into this huge war. That's why you all of a sudden have all the bodyguards out the blue for everybody. That's how you all of a sudden have Franklin still being able to do a construction project. For Dee to even know that Franklin really don't have money. Clearly Kane is back and back out and making moves at this point, when the last time in episode 2 we saw him, he was still in the hospital. Like, I love the way they did that time jump, because it was a sick time jump to do it that way. And to show it through an ongoing war that has just taken over the projects completely.
For sure. And also too, just because I know folks won't care about, man, just the murders, the car wash and the barbershop execution. It was getting, man, it was crazy, man. They didn't exaggerate at all. When they showed it, it went down. So
hey, man, that's what happens when you're at war. Again, we've been building to this moment for 6 years in Snowfall, that all of those things were going to come to a head, and they're finally doing it here. But next up, we got Franklin meeting with Veronique. Damn it. Veronique and Cassandra, as we hear say that they're about to get paperwork, meaning that the plan that they started is finally showing fruit. Now, we kind of already know that she told Franklin, if you ever want, I'm the person that can get this information for you. What information is it here? Did they talk about it? Because I didn't hear what all they said was paperwork.
Yeah, so Veronique and mom Cassandra listen, she's the scammer. It's getting his money back. They're getting back to the bottom of where his money went. That's what Cassandra's whole purpose is. But she's happy to be with her daughter. Thank you for doing this. At the same time, too, they're able to go forward with the construction thing because I guess they're ensuring that they're going to have the money to do so. Plus, they also got the money
I
for
was
the
even
drugs
confused by
too.
that.
So
Yeah.
so it's not a lot to make here. It's just to say like that they're okay and the family's okay. Even though Franklin's looking hella stressed, but it is what it is.
Hey, and then next up we got our guy.
Oh, right. Because like the scene before this is like we see Louie riding the horses and Leon and Wanda was doing their thing, but Franklin was checking these things. You saw him look frustrated because I guess he was just like, man, how are we going to do this? I got my big day coming. How are we going to do this? And I guess this was the meeting of Cassandra basically saying like, it's okay. And I guess he's like, all right, cool.
we got paperwork and whatever that paperwork entails for whatever connect they're using to get this paperwork. But next up, we get a picture of Louie going to pick up from Gustavo as he has set her up with the DEA. Again, we kind of knew that this was happening. At least we now see a month later that at least their full plans have been set in motion as they are narrowing down who the players are they need to go after here.
Yep.
It's none to talk about here because we could talk about everything else after this point with Gustavo. And that would be after this, he meets with Teddy and they set up the trip to Costa Rica. Let me see. The first question I'll ask is, how nervous did you see Gustavo being the moment this trip was announced?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I mean, he said, I need you here at 3 a.m. He's like, why? And I guess he was worried for a moment. He's like, uh-oh. And then he's like, no, because we have to go to Costa Rica. He's like, well, how long? Like a day or two. He just looked hella nervous. I was like, yeah, Gustavo's been on planes. So like, what the? Yeah, he's just nervous, man. He's just nervous. It's weird how this all played out, but he was just nervous.
Do you think they're going to ever play into the point that at this point, he's asking Teddy lots of questions he's never asked before? Because that's what I thought that they would draw with Teddy possibly bringing up. Like, not only are you nervous, you're asking details about things you've never asked before.
Definitely.
So in other words, your pattern is changing. And when your pattern changes, I know something's up.
Definitely. Intentional writing here absolutely will be a point at some point.
Hey, okay, so we got the trip to Costa Rica set up, but next thing, Leon meets with D. As you said before, this is when, as we picture Leon as he's going through this crack house and just how horrible everything looks while he's still trying to be peaceful here. And he sits down with D as D's lying to him about as much stuff as humanly possible. but ends the conversation with, trying to get in, would you trying to come back and work for me? What do you think, again, with this and the subsequent meetings we see with Leon, with everyone else? What do you think about the way they're setting this up? Is it just to play with his mental of showing him that maybe there was no purpose in returning? Or what you think you can fix can't be fixed?
Both. Absolutely both my points there. Yeah. And like, again, Dion and his ignorance and whatnot, power to people, my niggas. The niggas always gotta be on joke time. But I mean, yeah, it's to your points. I won't even go any further than that. But I think Leon is going to. I mean, he did come to the realization that like whatever bit of work he thought he was going to do, that ain't happening. And also, the hierarchy has passed. He'd been gone for a month, and Dion was like, "Yeah, I'm not coming up off this seat. So stay in your lane, and we cool."
Yeah, it was a message clearly being sent by Dion there. But let's stay right here with Leon and all the rest of his meetings. Then we get his meeting with Louie and Jerome. It's not much to make out of this, except for basically we're now seeing a more ruthless version of Jerome.
Yeah.
Jerome is no longer about playing games. As we see whatever's happened in that month, which I think they're going to go back to possibly in the next episode to show kind of what happened in that month. But now that we see that time has passed, we see Jerome is now completely ruthless. And him and Louie trust absolutely no one. Did you draw anything else from their conversation? I know the last conversation to me is where you draw the most from. But this just seems straightforward of Jerome saying, yeah, look, you were never family. Franklin used you like he used us.
Yeah. I think, obviously Jerome is just hurt I think still, because even though when he brought up Sissy, he was basically like, fuck the family, which is not a Jerome thing. But also Louie's right there as the puppet master, as I said, and controlling everything that happens. And I think Jerome was just putting on a nice show for his girl. But Leon going through all the security, being patted down, brings them a gift, starts to be a little bit preachy, but then he was just like, listen, like you went to Africa, must be nice, try waving in our face. That's a spiteful statement there. Like,
yes, it is.
you know what I mean? So
Hurt people.
that's all that is, man. And he's like, "You gonna come in here and make peace? Get the fuck out of here, little nigga." So yeah, that's it. Hurt people. And I think that Leon once again is 0 for 2 at bat, and realizing that like, yeah, whatever you thought you were gonna come back here with your new African Saiyan powers, and it just didn't work.
Well, let's go to the third meeting because that's the most important one to me here.
Yeah.
And that is his meeting with Franklin. As this one just is not nearly as contentious or as snarky as the meeting is with D or the meeting with Jerome and Louie. Here, this is the first time in a while we've got to see them actually just sit down, and it kind of feel like the relationship they had in the earlier seasons of Snowfall. What'd you just think about this conversation between them two, and then kind of the ultimatum that Franklin gives him at the end of the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, they're brothers, and I think that's always been the theme, no matter how many times they bumped heads. So it's good to see that we still have that, at least long-term storytelling in terms of the show. It is interesting that Franklin's still there. He did mention the 30 cops came and shot up the place looking for nothing. But they get burgers and they chop it up. And then he says, like, Leon tries the same approach. And he says, oh, he also lets us know that Avi's gone as well, too. So he's, Leon's being caught up to speed on everything. But he says, as he should have said, you have got to pick a side here. You can't play both sides of the fence. So pick a side, or otherwise you need to get the fuck out of here. And I don't think that was a threat. I think it was a little bit of a vice, because he knows that like shit is ugly, bro. And you trying to play non-violent, that ain't gonna work, my brother here. So it's just but I do appreciate that Leon did try to hip him to game about like what leadership really means, and he knows everything that he kind of come to terms with in terms of what he was doing to the community is exactly what Franklin needed to hear, that Franklin had heard from Veronique, and did somebody else even hold him accountable to that? But either way, I think
his father.
His father and
multiple
Sissy,
times,
and Sissy
at one point. Yeah.
So
before she turned to the dark side.
Yeah. So this is a good conversation of brothers, and hopefully Franklin, as much as he tried to brush him off, also hopefully he learned something as well too in this.
Yeah. At first you thought it was a complete just all right, man, just go on to the next thing. Up until he gives Lee that warning. And again, I think you said it perfectly. People are going to think that Franklin was threatening them. At no point in time was he threatening him. He was just letting them know, this ain't the time or place. You can't be kumbaya nigga now. You're going to have to either pick a side or leave. This city is no longer safe for people who want peace.
Yeah.
Kind of almost a correlation of what Leon was told on his wedding day. About you're going to be in danger. That whole conversation at the end of his wedding day, right before they came back, is literally the same conversation, or in less words, that Franklin had with him there. Everything ain't meant for you to come back to. You can't fix everything. So I love that correlation between those two things. But let's jump back a little bit and go to Gustavo again, meets with his handlers to go over everything with the trip to Costa Rica. Here, his handlers tell him, after we got the pictures of you dropping the work to Louie, we're planning on hitting Teddy's warehouse within the week. Make sure you get back from Costa Rica safely. What do you think about this? Because this is, again, is Gustavo still being nervous? It's something they brought up last episode of, as the longer this goes on, the more paranoid you're going to be, the more nervous you're going to be about everything until everything is over.
That's true. Also, I mean, like, even with the CIA are basically happy that that Teddy went. It's everybody eyes I'm saying Teddy, Gustavo. Everyone's eyes is on Gustavo right now. So you got the CIA people like, oh, cool. He's going. The Mexican's going with you. Cool. And
you taking the Mexican with you?
Yep. Yeah. But it's exactly that. You answered your own question here. Obviously the importance, because this is the last shipment of arms and whatnot. This is like really their only opportunity to really get the kind of the evidence and what they need there. But he did need to come back because they're ready to go. And the paranoia, I'm surprised didn't play a factor into the execution of what their plans were, because you would think that will probably have them sloppy of some sorts, but it wasn't. But as I said, the longer this goes, the worse it's gonna get. So yeah, all we know now is what Ruben and their plan is going forward.
Yeah.
And how soon
next up, and next up we get, well, not directly next up is Teddy giving out the orders to his crew in Costa Rica exactly what to do. To me, there's not anything right there to talk about. But the next important thing to happen is Wanda visiting her grandmother. Here is Wanda experiencing the exact same thing that Leon's been going through this whole episode. And that is, as she visits her grandmother after shopping in Africa to make sure she picked the perfect necklace out for her, and her realizing that she can't undo her past. And everything that she did, she still has to atone for. What did you think about this scene? Because this scene with Wanda plays directly into that quote also. It's about not settling things of the past, because if it's not settled, you can't progress in the future.
It's bullshit. I think
really
it is bullshit, because here's why it's bullshit. Number one, we all know grandmas don't forget nothing, and that grudge is gonna be there as long as forever. So that's always gonna be a thing. It ain't matter what quote she read. But understanding that what she did as a crackhead, she shouldn't be held liable for, because she did turn the page. She turned the page on a better foot. I don't think it's right.
Okay.
I like, who are we as a community to not show empathy for somebody who actually was going through a struggling time and actually got back on her feet? And her grandma was like, okay, cool, but yeah, all that shit you did before, you still did it, so bye. Like, we don't progress as a community if we always gonna hold somebody to something they did statues of limitations ago. Like,
wow,
and that's,
you said,
yeah,
it's only I think it's only been 6 months. It ain't been that long since
Wanda ain't been free as a crackhead for
a year.
It's been a while.
It's
been a couple of years. We got to look at the time jump here. Is that she was clean all the last season, so that's at least 3. Well, it was, I think it was 6 months between this last season, but before that season, I think it was 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So fair enough time to kind of say she turned the page here. But I mean, like, to kind of correlate this to Bumpy Johnson here with the painting with the artist in that episode, he also kind of made it seem like folks never really come up off that. So, like, could this incident actually turn Wanda back into a past that she's been trying to escape? Does Leon become right here in his statements? It's things like this is traumatizing when you do go back to the people that you think would accept you, flaw and all, and she just really metaphorically and figuratively slammed the door in her face and said, no, you did that shit and that's what you are. And I just don't agree with that. That's why I'm like, I get the signing absolutely makes sense for the show, but I think grandmas, this is like black right in here. Grandmas do hold on to shit for forever, but also think like this is kind of just messed up, man. And her breaking down and everything, it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
I'm never going to say that the grandmother's wrong here, but
can't.
This is why when people go through Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a 12-step program. And one of those 12 steps, the most important, most will say,
is acceptance.
Is you going back? No. Acceptance is important, but the other thing is you going back and atoning for everything you did. Because you have to ask people for forgiveness for what you did. Things aren't just brushed under the rug. That's equivalent of saying, you killed somebody, but it's fine because you've become a better person. No, you still have to apologize. You still have to do things to earn that trust back. The grandmother, what she said to me, the hurt part wasn't Wanda stealing from her. It was her saying, then you hit me and then you cussed me down. Like that I think weighed way more, because that's a certain level of disrespect that goes along with that you would even hit your grandmother. But Wanda's thinking, because I'm clean, it's fine. No, but you've never apologized for any of this.
That's
Like, you
fair.
have to make atonement to the things that you've done. Like the first time because it almost seemed like this is the first time her grandmother has seen her since she became clean. If it's been as long as you said, think about it for a minute, man. That means you went away and everything, and then you just show up in this moment
Fair.
and think everything is going to be forgiving. It's just about trying to correct things. To me, this is just the reason I equated it to the quote. It's because this is just step one for Wanda. Leon feels like he's already evolved past this point, because before he left, he was already turning that leaf of saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to destroy my community. I don't think these are things we should do. He was already attempting to do the work. This is the first time we've gotten to see Wanda have to face her past.
Yeah.
Throughout this entire thing. The only other person she faced it with was Leon.
Yeah.
And then he didn't forgive her right away. That wasn't no instant, we
he,
cool thing.
He never was mad at
nor
her. He
did
always
she.
he accepted her for everything. He never. And honestly, that's another thing that he always kind of held as a burden to himself. When we talk about examples of things he just didn't.
That's
let
what he
go,
did to Wanda.
Yeah,
he introduced her to quote crack,
and then dissed her.
But then that again, I just felt like, the grandmama went wrong there. You gotta apologize, baby. You can't just steal my necklace, beat me up, cuss me down.
She had the life alert. Wanda then Allen Iverson or stepped over her. Give me this chain and rolled
not
out.
The Tyronn Lue joke.
She was on the ground hitting the light.
The point, and you could tell the grandmother was hurt, because the point when she opened that door and Wanda said, I got you a necklace. Is that the necklace you stole? Like, it's the first thing that came out of her mouth. So she been holding on to that.
Hey, that's the first thing I said.
Where the hell is my necklace?
Her grandma. First of all, and also we gotta give Wanda a shout out for her whole new swag too. She came back and she was like, I leveled up, y'all. Look at me. Dashiki down let them know. She cultured down.
She came in that junk like the poor auntie that done went to the big city and got a man with some money, and she come back with a new dress on. Or oh shit. Is it, or like Lucille when she got her dress from Sears and went back home to the family? That's what Wanda did right here. That's why grandma was so upset with Wanda here. But next up is something that is a short scene, and I only want you to speak on one portion of it, and that is we get with Veronique and Franklin as they arrive at the development site, and Sissy's there. And Veronique first says, I thought you said she was gonna come. She was gonna come here. And Franklin said, I didn't think she would come here either. And then when you see the reception they give each other once they get there, is this foreshadowing that something happened between them two, and also in this month of passing time that we're going to see?
Yeah, the war. That's all it was. Sissy didn't want this. She tried to prevent it, and they're at it, and now she just is like, okay. She also couldn't pick sides here. So I think that was just her like, I love you, but like, I'm very disappointed with it. That's what it looked like. And said, yeah, I hope you're happy. This is everything you've been fighting for. So
yeah, I thought that was a heck of a powerful line there, because that wasn't at all a congratulations. That was you've destroyed your family, and you destroyed your family for this.
Yeah, there you go.
I hope you're happy about it.
Yeah,
I hope this brings you the joy that nothing else can.
Yeah,
like it's a heck of a play right there by Sissy. But in this episode off with the last thing we need to talk about, and that is the whole murder rage rampage in Costa Rica, and what Teddy discovers at the end when he discovers that one is a screw with a little note in the screw, and it's informing him that the whole thing was set up by the Russians to destroy all of his actions. Are you surprised that, again, now that we know that everyone's in this time jump from a month, that it's taking him this long to find out that the Russians, that means the KGB, are involved in his business?
It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. Because, like, I don't know what else I would have filled this month in with. But
Mm.
yeah, so a couple of things too. Just Gustavo, who I said probably had lost all instincts of being the killer he is, well, that's clearly a lie because my man held
Yep.
his own down in the heat of the moment here. And Teddy is a shot. He threw that ball up and 3 were down before Gustavo had
Yeah.
caught it. So so they would still work good together and trust here because and as I said, we didn't find out who it was. So Teddy this was a failed mission at one point because Teddy said, if we don't find out who was coming after him, then this is a failed mission.
It's a
That's what
failed
he said.
mission. Yeah.
Yeah. So they go on the plane, they dumping all the stuff around. He's trying to go through. He finds to go through the screw, and he finds out that it's from the Russians. The fact that it took him this long, I don't know how I feel about that. But I do know one thing. This now has to put endless pressure on Gustavo. Endless pressure. But also maybe Franklin, maybe Sissy. I don't know. We have to see, but it's definitely a big moment to kind of like leave us off on for next episode. That now Teddy will go back, and he will go back and tell the CIA folks because that's what he wanted the mission for, and say, hey, so the Russians are involved with here, in Costa Rica, which is like right there, but the Russians are, very fairly close.
Yeah. And now that you're involved in it, it's with the CIA. You don't think they'll backtrack every Russian that's came into America to find out where this could possibly have come from?
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot. And it's going to see how nervous Gustavo get, and does he slip up in the questions he asks, and does that put him under the microscope here? So
now I'm just wondering now, are we going to definitely get an episode where we go back for this month to let us know what happened? Because that means a lot of stuff has happened in this month. And one thing Snowfall is famous for, they will go back and show you some things that happened so you fully understand what the ramifications will be moving forward. Because the moment you see Teddy pull that screw off, and if you pan and saw Gustavo's face there, it felt like fear. Because he didn't know what the hell. He didn't know what the hell was in that screw.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all looking like, what is he about to do? So I don't know if it was fear.
I don't know if he thought it was a note that said Gustavo is a snitch. He thought Teddy was gonna find out right then and there.
Yeah, it raised a lot of questions. And I think for me, I was just kind of like, I don't know what he's about to find and see. And Gustavo's face wasn't giving me a lot to kind of think what he was thinking, but it's definitely about to get interesting. That's for sure. That's for sure.
So, final thoughts, sir, on episode 3, The Door of No Return.
Let's go, man. I'm ready for episode 4. This is a amazing episode here, and I'm just ready for the next week. So that's my final thoughts.
Hey, man, I'll be forgetting that Snowfall episodes are only like 45 minutes because commercial breaks. I'm so accustomed to things being an hour because this felt like such a short episode.
Yeah.
But then I had to realize, oh, well, yeah, you take the commercials out of it, it kind of is a 40-minute episode here. Yeah. But you can check this out every Wednesday right after Snowfall airs. Hop on Big Gold Belt, subscribe, like, comment. Let us know what you think about episode 3, Door of No Return. Let us know what you think about Leon and Wanda returning from Africa. Let us know what you thought about the trip at Africa and the symbolism that goes along with everything that they showed there. Let us know what you think about what we're going to get for this month that passed. Like, are we going to ever see actually everything that happened during that month that led to these wars blowing up? Let us know what you think about Gustavo. Like, when will the pressure bust the pipe and this man choke? Because clearly he's close to there. And finally, let us know, and this is the most important part of it, when will Grandma forgive Wanda for stealing her ruby necklace? Or will Grandma forever hold that grudge against Wanda for stealing her ruby necklace? But then this has been another recap review. You can check us out on everything that we're covering here because Big Old Belt, we got a lot of content coming for you. So please check out everything we have. Right after you watch this Wednesday night, just tune in Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. We got nights. We got your whole week covered in content. Peace, people.